Hey Algebra 1. Alright, so in the last video we worked on just graphing inequalities on a number line and writing the solution in what we call interval notation. Okay, so today we're actually going to solve some inequalities and then graph the answer on a number line and write the answer in interval notation. So it kind of has three parts to it, right? But there's one big important note to start with, and it's at the top here. If you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the sign. You must flip the sign, okay? And we're going to see that in this first example right away. All right, so I have negative 4x plus 7 is less than or equal to 51. Okay, so I'll subtract 7 from both sides. I do that before I multiply or divide. I get negative 4x is less than or equal to 44. And then I can divide by negative 4. And as soon as you do that, alarm bells should go off, right? It becomes this like an alarming thing. We just divided by a negative. So you got to pay attention to it. When you divide it by a negative, flip the sign. So those 4's cancel. I get x is greater than or equal to, I flipped that sign over, negative 11. Okay. All right, now I need a little bit more room here. Let's see if we can do that. Okay, so to graph that on a number line, I'm going to draw a number line out. The only number I care about right now is negative 11. Okay. You don't need to put 0. You don't need to put any other numbers on there. Okay. We're going to put a filled in circle at negative 11. Fill in that circle there. And then I have to read the statement. It says x is greater or equal to negative 11. So I need numbers that are bigger than negative 11. Okay. Well, the numbers that are bigger than negative 11 are to the right on the number line, so I'm going to shade to the right. Okay. Now, to write my interval notation, answer, okay, I go from left to right, and one of the things that can be really helpful, and you saw this in the video the other day, is to label the ends of the number line, negative infinity and positive infinity. Okay, so when I do that, I'm just going to describe the shaded area from left to right. So it starts shading at negative 11, and it's a filled in circle, so that's when I use a bracket. And I start at negative 11, comma, and the shading goes towards infinity, so I say negative 11, comma, infinity. Infinity always gets a parenthesis, and that's my answer. Okay, so really this whole thing that I'm circling in blue is our answer. X is greater than or equal to negative 11, the shading on the number line, and the interval notation that says negative 11 to infinity. Okay, now that we've done one, the rest of these should go faster. All right, here in number 2, I've got negative x over 6 plus 3 is greater than 8. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I get negative x over 6 is greater than 5. Now what you notice here is I want to get rid of the 6 in the denominator, but it's also negative. So in order to fix that, I'm going to multiply by negative 6. So when I multiply by negative 6 on both sides, okay, remember you're really multiplying by negative 6 over 1. Okay, so these cancel and the negatives cancel. So I'm left with x. And I multiplied by a negative. So again, those alarm bells went off. Okay. I multiplied by a negative, so I need to flip the sign. So now it's x is less than negative 30. X is alone. Awesome, I can graph it now. So let's go to my number line. I'm going to put negative 30 on the number line. Okay. And this is x is less than, so I'm going to put an open circle, and I'm going to shade to the left. Why do I shade to the left? Because x is less than negative 30, and numbers that are less than negative 30 are to the left. Finally, I have to write my interval notation. So to do that, I'm going to first label negative infinity and positive infinity on the number line. And then my shading from left to right, my shading starts at negative infinity. So I go parentheses negative infinity, comma, negative 30. And because it's an open circle, I get a parentheses at negative 30. All right, we're going to move on to number 3. All right, here in number 3, I have some distributing to do. I've got some combining like terms to do. So I'm going to start with distributing the 2. And that's going to give me 10x minus 2. Be careful to do 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Is less than or equal to 4x plus 6x. I combine those like terms. I get 10x plus 8. Okay. Deal with the x's first. I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. And whoa, what happens? They cancel. Look at that. That's a 10, not 100. Okay, so those cancel and those cancel. So I'm left with negative 2 is less than or equal to 8. All the x's canceled out. So now I have 2 options. It could be no solution. It could be all real numbers. So you have to ask yourself let me use a different color. You ask yourself, is this true? Negative 2 less than or equal to 8. You can go back to your elementary school days and ask, is the alligator eating the correct number? It is. Okay, 8 is bigger than negative 2. Negative 2 is smaller than 8. So this is true, which means if it's true, it's the same as last time. It's all real numbers. And all real numbers is fun to graph on the number line because you just shade the whole thing. Put arrows on the end of your shading. Okay, if I'm going to write interval notation for all real numbers, I still need to label negative infinity and positive infinity. And then that interval notation becomes parentheses negative infinity, comma, positive infinity. We're saying the interval that's shaded is everything. Okay, one more problem. All right, in this last one, we have some more distributing to do. So I'm going to be distributing negative 2 this time because it's 3 minus 2 times x plus 5. So when I distribute that, I get 3 minus 2x minus 10 is greater than negative 2x plus 3. Then I'm going to add 2x to both sides. All right, and I get 3 minus 10, which I should probably just subtract and get negative 7. 3 minus 10 is greater than 3. Okay, so as I finish that, I get I get negative 7 is greater than 3. So same thing, ask yourself, is this true? Because all the x's canceled out. So now it's either all real numbers or no solution. Negative 7, the alligator is not eating the right number. Negative 7 is not bigger than 3. So this one is no solution. That's my answer. When it's false, it's no solution. Okay. So to graph a no solution, you would just leave the number line blank. But we don't want to do that, and because I need to know that you know there's no solution. So we're going to put that big no solution symbol on the number line, and we're going to put that no solution symbol for interval notation. All right. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was some good solving inequalities practice. Thanks.